What up, everybody? My name is Roselle. We're gonna party. Hey, everybody. And in the shows, we're gonna party. If I can find out how to get to end the show. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. We are here to party. If you like old school, everybody move your party. It's your boy DJ, bro. This is Anna's Historical Podcast. We're going to be listening to some of that Afro soul. Let's do it.
Now normally, my notepad end up like a beach in Normandy. A lot of carnage, a lot of casualties. It's a gory scene on my Robert Horry thing. Big shot Sean, living evidence, proof hip-hop's not gone. Fucking with your bitch, getting head up out her ass. Wouldn't fuck with you if she had her head up out her ass. Lousy husband, I made a splendid dad. It was like popping the top off a shaking soda, it fizzled fast. The writing was on the wall like hieroglyphics. I was selling bullshit that was very buyer specific, admired and gifted. The murder for hire lyrics, sometimes talents the gas that sets fire to friendships of 4-alarm blaze, a forecasting the pain is hell, and I don't mean like a water's colder than rain. My frigid heart got my temper shorter than midget cars, but victory got him raising the my extended arm. So whenever you was feeling the feeling that bring you closer to me, let this testimony make you feel as if you're rolling with me. If you're feeling the feeling that bring you close to me, let this testimony make you feel as if you roll with me. You ever feeling the feeling that bring you closer to me, let this testimony make you feel as if you're rolling with me. You ever feeling the feeling that bring you close to me, let this testimony make you feel as if you roll with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Momo, this a slapper, my nigga. Yeah. Finna run this shit. Come on. Do it.
Niggas, bitches, gather round, get your game intact. And if you don't catch it the first time, you can play it back. When I'm done, one of the sickest ones to spit it raw. On my dick so hard, thinking you trying to get me draw. Back, let me get stacks, proceed to roll sweets. In my face, seem like you the type to speak to police. So you know I can't fuck with you. Conversate, spit a verse, roll a smoke a blunt with you. Too many big things on my plate. That's why I say my grace and watch for cats trying to violate. I'ma wait in the cut. We gon' play through them up. He gon' be like, nigga, please. I'ma be like, nigga, what? Step your game up. That's how you get your chippers up. Building bigger figures up. Yeah, I know this shit is nuts, but we gotta do for bucks. More than just this rapping stuff. Push a hard line until your motherfucking time is up.
Come on. Trying to put this West Coast thing back on the map. Northern Cali's where I'm starting because this where it's at. Trying to put this West Coast thing back on the map. Northern Cali's where I'm starting because this where it's at.
Yeah. Jason T. Let's bring this wet shit back, nigga. Blaze up. I'm going in on these motherfuckers. I'ma bring this wet shit back, nigga. I'm going in on these motherfuckers. I'ma bring this wet shit back, nigga. I'm going in on these motherfuckers. I'ma bring this wet shit back, nigga. I'm going in on these motherfuckers. I've been hustling all my life, nigga. On this microphone, I ain't nothing nice, nigga. Never having nothing, always want something hard, grinding, sacrificing, paying dues with my life, nigga. Yeah, hear him saying he ain't paid enough. On the reverse, send me saying I don't give a fuck. You know we smoked out everywhere that he go. Grinding pushing units like I'm about to move a kilo. Been rhyming, been spitting, been had the gift. Yeah, check the Moss catalog, we been dropping shit. West Coast shit clean, boy, we keep it crisp. If you don't smell a blunt burning, one getting lit. Streets is talking, asking when the next chapter dropping. Tell them niggas streets and money, all we got in common. So real about this game, me and with the fake and pull up, get the fucking players, put my face up from a nigga lit. I'ma keep it mobbing. There's a TV in your trunk, got a nigga here bobbing. Tell him what it is, bro. Nigga, if that shit right here though, that West Coast shit slapping through your ear. I'ma keep it lit, yeah, I'ma keep it mobbing. There's a TV in your trunk, got a nigga here bobbing. Tell him what it is, bro. Nigga, if that shit right here though, that West Coast shit slapping through your ear.
Yeah. There you go. Wow. Chandre. Yes. What? Hey. Please don't get me started. Extended the clip to 18, now we don't get caught it. Walked into the club, I'm looking for a Meg Thee Stallion. Hate on us, I hit your neck, your back and body, yada yada. Break it, it's like this karate. Drip Fiji water. You don't gotta wonder, that bitch with me like a stalker. Got feet up in the field, US claiming soccer. Hey, fucking game is only proper. I'm a Kyle Rittenhouse, I walk around with a chopper. Get the poppin', all these corny niggas bored red and by the middle finger to the coppers. And my oppas in the pasta, hit you knocking out your body, hit your noodle top ramen. Yeah, don't get me started. I am seasoned, let it pepper after cartridge when insulted. I'm assaulted, said you king, you was lying, you Mufasa. So I stopped him out once I dropped him. It's a riot in this bitch, 40 goons like Alibaba. It's a dying in this bitch, 45 knock off your stomach. If you die up in this bitch, no ambulance is coming for you. 96 Honda, try me, I get started. Please don't get me started. Extended the clip to 18, now we don't get caught it. Walked into the club, I'm looking for a Meg Thee Stallion. Hate on us, I hit your neck, your back and body, yada yada. Break a bitch like this karate. Drip Fiji water. You don't gotta wonder, that bitch with me like a stalker. I got feet up in the field, US women soccer. Hey, kicking game is only proper. Wrong started, got a GD, still retarded. Gang banging, maybe the smartest, don't remember you from the apartments. One call for the cockpit, little homies come full of horseshit. Pick whatever they grab it, cock it, pick whatever they can rob and lock it. Chandre, every season I link up with Old Bay. I be trying to get her for the bag while y'all trying to brack legs. I keep it simple while y'all on that wish to add eggs. Family Guy, I got the lowest while y'all on that giggity giggity. Carnivore, red to see like a dinosaur. Out in public like Ola Major. You don't know me like Christian Dior. All on the floor with a dime. Give me some more like Busta Rhymes. We in climax, we commit crimes. If she Amazon, I'm gonna climb. Feeling like next she in a bind. I got what she needs in time. She got Chandre in his prime, so I need her to get back in line. Tony Hawk, I'm on my grind. Where's Waldo? I'm hard to find. She watching, can't read the signs. Fucking with me costs a fine. Please don't get me started. Extended the clip to 18, now we don't get caught it. Walk into the club, I'm looking for a make the stallion hate on us. I hate your neck, your back and body, yada yada. Drip, Fiji water. You don't gotta wonder that bitch with me like a stalker. I got feet up in the field. U.S. women's soccer. Hey, kicking game is only proper.
Yo, this is that dude, the Duck Soup Radio. This is your boy DJ Rowe. We getting down. It's the water, baby, the water.
Look at these medals into our nation. The delivery, my quiver, be reverberating. Paper catastrophe, apostrophes for the beat, and to the penman with the getaway racing to the zone. Wanna go safety zone, feel at home. Rappers home.
Today we gotta deal with the beast. That's why I always pray to the east. Yo, in practice what I preach, and be sure that I drink on some water. 8 cups a day, it's good for my body.
Gotta drink water.
I did it like mama's love it, like food for mama's oven.
Gotta drink water.
It's good for my health, more important than man-made wealth.
Gotta drink water.
I need it in my body, I need water out of Maserati.
Woo, man, I feel refreshed, man. My soul is feeling it, man. Drenched with the water, man. I was thirsty for a while, but man, I'm feeling it, man. That water, baby, that water. Man, coming up Georgia Street, man. Hooked up with Tiara and Age, man. Woo. And they quenched that thirst. Water, definitely water.
Hey yo, AP, you stupid for this one. K-Music, Diva, Eddie Project. Y'all know what it is. Diva TV album. I don't care. Check it out. Mirror on the wall. Who is the diva of them all? I wake up in the morning with the nicest legs. In the kitchen cooking up some bacon, rice, and eggs. I'm a diva, I don't like to beg. I make my own grits and a side of steak. Been getting it since the days of Double Dutch. I'm top notch, now I'm playing hip-hop scotch. Diva only networking with the big hot shots. Cause I'm fly, looking with the bitch ride. Guess it's just a pimp in her. Never walking out the house with an empty hearse. I love when niggas try to check my temperature. Pull up on me in the bands like it's tempting her. Anyway, when they acting funny, I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. Hold up, wait a minute. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. I don't care. When they acting funny, I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. And yo, haters, I accept you winning. I'm really happy for you and I'ma let you finish. But I'm one of the best divas of all time. Thought you knew how to grind, so you saw mine. A force from the bay was 16 like a gun clip. So why you stand there with your flying zips? Ain't a dumb rip when they on that funny tip. Slap them in the lips with my money grip. I'm first in, last out the boutique. Looking too chic, but you geeks probably blog about it for the next 2 weeks. While your baby daddy sending me a few tweets. I'm online, I'm on deck. That means I'm put on, that means I'm up next. I keep these suits paying my ass. Do a show, get on stage, I'll make it rain with your cash. Hold up, wait a minute. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. I don't care when they acting funny. I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. I just wave bye-bye with a stack of money. I
see haters in the air, I see haters everywhere. I put the things in you if you messing with a player. I'm a boss, 100%, 100% all black car with the all black tits. Play with C notes like my name was Chris Hicks. I love females, but it's all on the bitch. Haters in the way.
Yeah, everybody, it's your boy DJ Rose. You watching Anna's Historical Podcast Radio. We're gonna keep this going. We're about to start at about 15. You're listening to Kelda. I don't care. Let's go.
Oh, you ain't know that most of these niggas be CB4 and I'm CEO / president, and you don't wanna see my goals in your residence. Hold up. Wait a minute. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. Can't get the party started, get too many haters in it. I don't care. When they acting funny, I just wave by with a stack of money. I just wave by with a stack of money. I just wave by with a stack of money. Hold up. Wait a minute. Intimate.
Tuition, yeah, tuition. Trust my intuition, it be screaming, I don't listen. Try to tell me you a dog, still let you pet my kitten. Told me you just a nigga, my heart swore you were different. Should've listened all along, my gut feeling knew your intention. Intuition. Trust my intuition. Think he's the one, my intuition saying different. Intuition. But I chose not to listen. I must be tripping. Trust my intuition. Why don't you love me? Ain't much competition. My mama told me, but I didn't listen. Watching me grow, can't even glisten while you stuck at home reminiscing. Worry about me while I'm worried about living. Just what I intended based off intuition. I seen the signs up by your lies, not pay attention. Don't know why I fuck with guys, I want my love for their redemption. You look me in my eyes, got the nerve to tell me I'm tripping. Should've picked up on your vibe, I admit it, you caught me slipping. Wish that I stay focused on my paper. That D gave me ADHD, forgot that he a player. Try to tell me we don't mix, he E and J and I'm the Jaeger. It gon' work out in my favor, it hurt now but I'll learn later to trust my intuition. Trust my intuition. Think he's the one, my intuition saying different. But I chose not to listen. I must be tripping. Trust my intuition. Cause I think I know it all. Hopeless romantic, that's vulnerable. Take all the pain that they gave, seen it, done it all. Like I find this shit fun at all. Don't think you can treat me like you do these bitches. I know that you know that I'm different. And don't speak to me like you want in my commitment when you know your heart just ain't in it. See love, I don't trust. Mind like a squirrel, he all about his neck. He don't want your heartbeat, he just wanna fuck. Sometimes you give in, this time don't give it back. That's my intuition. Mama told me don't listen. Girls say that I'm tripping, I thought you was different. I'ma learn next time, I'ma listen. Trust my intuition. Trust my intuition. I make the same mistakes expecting something different. I just want love instead, get heartache and resentment. And they wonder why I'm distant. Need to trust my intuition. Trust my intuition. He's the one, my intuition saying different. But I chose not to listen. I must be tripping. Trust my intuition. Whoa.
Hey. Woo. Shout out to Bree Blue. She was brought to us by Trika Know Better, Do Better. Check out Know Better, Do Better. Thursdays, 9 to 11. You know what I'm saying? Bree Blue kind of gives me that old Janae Aiko kind of feel. So there's one song on hers I never played. I don't. So put that right on right now. Anna's Historical Podcast Radio. DJ Roll, let's go.
Yeah. You already know who it is. It's Breeze Blues. Look, I don't fuck with no lame niggas. Feel like I got 9 phones. I don't even say niggas getting it on my own. No, you can't relate. The only thing that I know is we are not the same. Nigga, white girl with me and she tryna cop the side. She love how I sing with me, but I still be spitting crack. See the hustle is within me. Ask my uncle, ask my dad. I ain't talking about no titties when I say I need some racks. Damn, I don't got time for niggas. They be tripping in my iPhone, simping, but all I act like they pippin'. Look, I don't listen to no unwanted opinions. If you quick to get offended, that's your business. You should fix it, cause I don't fuck with no lame niggas. Feel like I got 9 phones. I don't even say niggas getting it on my own. No, you can't relate. The only thing that I know is we are not the same, nigga. I don't make excuses, I just make it happen. Niggas hit me on collab shit, I know they just tryna tap it. They gon' see when you slacking, now I'm back, they wanna tap it. They hit me with them words, they ain't really about that action. You know I don't do shit for clout, that shit is out. You know I don't speak on shit that I'm not really about. Bitches fishing, flowing, selling, such a different color trout. While I'm dripping, unintended, something like a leaky spout. Look, I don't fuck with no lame niggas. Feel like I got 9 phones. I don't even say niggas getting it on my own. No, you can't relate, nigga. Only thing that I know is we are not the same, nigga. Look, I don't fuck with no lame niggas. Feel like I got 9 phones. I don't even say niggas getting it on my own. No, you can't relate, nigga. Only thing that I know is we are not the same, nigga. I rock amethyst, rock amethyst, yeah, amethyst. I rock amethyst, don't need no rollie on my wrist. I rock amethyst, don't need no rollie on my wrist. I rock amethyst, yeah, amethyst, amethyst. Let's go, I be living rich. Look just like my pockets thick. Don't need no rollie on my wrist. I'd rather rock that amethyst. I keep killing every fit. I hit Hillcrest just to thrift. Puff on purple cannabis and watch the sunset at the cliffs. I'm so wavy, you could surf me. What don't pay me, don't concern me. Don't protect me, you can't hurt me. Focus like a camera lens. I ain't really on my shit till I can pay my mama's rent. Take her out that Honda Civic, put her in an all blue Benz, bitch. I don't rock no rollie on my wrist. I rock amethyst. I don't rock no gold chain on my neck. I rock amethyst. All I smoke is purple cannabis. I rock amethyst, yeah, I rock amethyst. I don't think that they can handle this. Yeah, you know I'm trying to channel shit. Rock purple amethyst. Yeah, you know I rock that amethyst. You can't handle this. Yeah, you know I'm trying to channel shit. Rock purple amethyst. Yeah, you know I. Yeah. Keep it. Yeah. Hey, I think I'm Bruce Wayne, fucking on your boo thing. Shit on my two chain. What you gon' do, man? I think I'm Bruce Wayne, fucking on your boo thing. Shit on my two chains. What you gon' do, man? Pull up in that black thing, all black on. It's fake. You know you in the slap zone. Keep myself nice. I love my toys. Yo, shifting sales. I'm yelling ahoy. Had a good girl at home, but he'd rather run the streets. Now she ain't answer the phone. Ready to creep. She get deep. Leave a bad one and deny it from the judge. And you're guilty in my trial. Not my style. To get it, folks, biz. Ain't about to drop the ball. Y'all know what it is. Get it biz. If you come my way, I got gang. Rogue, I don't play. Hustle hard. Moving
side, cause you don't know me in all black. She kick you out on the last final. Rhymes big, kill it every time. Keep it a fucking 100 on every rhyme. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, fucking on your boot thing. Shit, love my food change. What you gon' do, man? I think I'm Bruce Wayne, fucking on your boot thing. Shit, love my food change. What you gon' do, man?
Fetty in the building. We're doing this. DJ Rowe, and it's Historical Podcast. We're gonna keep this going. 5 more minutes, we get down. All right, y'all, it's that time. I think Anna's in the building. We about to do this.
Sure am. Hey,
what's up, Anna?
What's up, Roselle? How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you.
Same
We're here. Yeah, we're here on a Wednesday night, which is unusual, but very, very cool. Yeah. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's been a real, oh yeah, and then we weren't here last week, I think, because I just was trying to deal with stuff with life.
Yeah, we went to the place to set up for your what's the show?
Yes, that was so fucking cool. I hope everybody.
Thurgood Marshall. That's a nice spot.
Isn't it?
That's a nice spot.
Yeah. I'm thinking like another time, we should definitely do a show there at a different time. And, pull in Duck Soup also. And it'll be really cool. I'm very excited about it. And we'll be talking about it a little bit. I've been working on that era. The show is called Thurgood Thursday, and it's a documentary about the attorney Thurgood Marshall, and then the biopic called Marshall, where he is played by Chadwick Boseman, who does an incredible job. The biopic is, it's really good because it captures Marshall's character. And so that's something people will really see a lot of in the documentary, because people talk about him, people that knew him. So, okay, I've been looking a lot at that period of time, and it really coincides with things going on now. So we're going to start off talking about McCarthyism and cancel culture. Okay, I know that's been something that's been discussed a lot on the other shows this week, and I'm seeing some interesting similarities. So can we start with the baby? Can you want to fill us in on that?
Oh, you talking about with are you talking about the baby, the one that said what he said during
Yeah.
I don't, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really a fan of new rappers as much, so I don't keep up with them. But I do know he said something to me. I don't know. I guess he said offended the LGBTQ. Did I say that right?
Yeah, he
Community.
did. Okay.
And so I guess I don't know. I heard what he said. I didn't understand how it offended him, but I guess it did. So
okay, and a couple things about that. You're ahead of me. I didn't know who he was, which was the case for a whole lot of people, I mean, especially people my age, white people. So it's always kind of strange to me when I first hear about somebody because they said something offensive. I'm like, okay, well, if this person said something offensive, why do you need to go repeating it and making sure that everybody knows about it? Okay, so that is one issue I have with it. And like you said, I mean, people don't know why it was offensive. And some of the problems I have with that is, I didn't think what he said was that offensive. He was talking about AIDS and people dying of AIDS, which is a very big deal, very hurtful to the LGBT community, because we've lost so many members of our community to that disease, but a lot of people don't know that. And I was talking about that with Rika, especially young people. So this should be an opportunity to educate people and let them know why they were offended. And so he was dumped from Lollapalooza, and he's dumped from a lot of other gigs too. So then you get into the fact of like, okay, somebody gets dumped from Lollapalooza, that's going to be a bunch of guys in suits sitting around making a business decision. I don't think that has anything to do with the issue. And the people most affected by it will be his fans, who many of whom do not know why this was offensive. And so from their perspective, it's going to be like, well, fuck these LGBT people, whatever, I mean, they're taking away this artist that we like, and why? So it can just increase animosity and misunderstanding. And if I were to be speaking to the baby, how I would start would be what I just said about having lost so many people to that virus, and that there's just so much grief and trauma, and that it is still affecting people all over the world and decimated many African Americans. And now, I mean, there's problems with young people transmitting HIV/AIDS because they weren't around when tons of people were dying, which is all the more reason that we need to talk. We need to explain. Samson McCormick, who's been on our show, who is an African-American gay comic, he has been performing for 20 years. And, he has bottles thrown at him. He is just, I think he's hilarious I also consider Samson to be very wise and smart and ethical. So he didn't think the baby should be canceled. See, I always, again, see, this is what I told you, Brazil. I didn't know who Dave Chappelle was till he pissed off a bunch of people. And
that's shocking. That is shocking, though, still.
But I know. And I heard about it first of all from Samson, because when something like this happens, Samson was up saying Dave Chappelle is brilliant. Don't cancel him. And you have to think about what's offensive and what's hate speech. Do you think there's a difference?
Yes.
You want to take a crack at because okay,
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I think what the baby said was offensive, as in hate speech. No, I can understand if you were upset because of what he said, but I don't consider it. I just don't know. Like I said, until you just said now, I didn't understand how it was really what he said was towards that community. I just didn't get it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. If you had AIDS or something, okay, I can see you being upset. But, for him just saying it like that, it just didn't seem, I don't know. It seemed weird. They turned it more into, if you didn't really hear what he said and you just read like the articles without seeing what he actually said, it's almost like he said hate speech. You would think he said hate speech the way that it looks.
Yeah. And he said something about whether anybody in the audience had been having gay sex in their cars or something like that. The danger, one of the things that is concerning about that speech is if he has fans that are gay, are they going to be scared? Are they going to feel bad about themselves? Does this keep people in the closet, which is a very serious issue, not necessarily the baby's responsibility. And there's the beliefs that that hate speech does lead people to be violent, and that there is speech that does that. And the concern is also that there's language that dehumanizes people. And so that's dangerous, because when you dehumanize people, you get other people thinking that it is okay to beat them up and kill them. So it's not that I don't take this seriously. I think you need to look at each thing separately, and that the baby is a young man. I'm sure he's not familiar with any of this, and he's a performer. Okay, performers do stuff. They have an act. They have a persona. Are you going to try and tell him to be different? I don't know. Well, I'm sure as fuck not going to. So, okay, now, but here we're getting to something that was happening last week that I found real interesting. And it was an interview I listened to on a podcast, because people were pissed off about it on Twitter. So I wanted to see for myself what the problem was, with Amy Cooper, otherwise known as Central Park Karen. Last spring, the same day that, either the same day or the day after, I think it was the same day that George Floyd was murdered, a video was posted of a white woman in Central Park screaming at this guy that she's like, I'm going to call the police, and what the fuck? I'm going to call the police and tell them an African-American man is threatening me. So, and then she had a dog with her, and she was yanking the dog by his collar. And as soon as I saw that video, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be bad, man, because white people really get going about dogs. So that's so it went on Facebook, got posted online. So within a day, she was fired, and then she was doxxed. So people were coming to her door, contacting her, threatening her, and a lot of it was because of the dog. Like, yeah, what did you do? And so she needed, it was a rescue dog, so she surrendered the dog back to the shelter. Meanwhile, the gentleman that she had said that to, there was this screaming about like, oh my God, we're going to press charges, did not want to press charges. He was asked whether he thought she should be fired. He said no. And there you have it. So she worked for a banking organization. So there again, the people that fired her are going to be a bunch of guys sitting around in suits deciding that it'll look good to fire this lady. And so, and Christian Cooper also said that focusing on this issue gets away from looking at racism, at systemic racism. My question for Amy Cooper's, they both had the same last name, employers would have been, well, how many Black people are on your trading floor? And that's what matters. And that meanwhile, it's like, okay, you're taking this action that the person who was the Black person that was affected doesn't want to happen. That's racist. That's racism. You're saying you know better than him how to deal with this situation. And the same with, it's now like it's a crime to call the police frivolously or something. And he didn't want to press charges, and they kept trying to pursue it, and they kept trying to pursue it, and he didn't want to press charges. And so there you go. It's like, okay, this is just politics. This is just people trying to make themselves look good. So I listened to this at the same time as DaBaby was going on, and I just found the things to be very similar, that these were business decisions made by people who weren't even directly involved or concerned in these issues. And that, yeah. So do you think it's similar?
It's pretty similar. A little bit similar. I give it to it.
Okay, I can't hear you, Rizzo.
Yes, it's similar.
Yeah. And that what it also, and that it is about public opinion.
Right.
Especially Christian Cooper, the guy's sister posted the video, and he didn't even post it himself. And, he didn't say anything, but I'm sure, going by, he did not want to give interviews. He did not want, he didn't want to pursue it. And, he didn't want her to be fired. He didn't want, this lady was a jerk, but it was not like one of the things she was doing. And I listened to, the interviewers were ridiculous because they sucked. The interview was because she's suing her employers. And I'm like, yeah, she doesn't, that's what else is she going to do, man? They fire, like, there's so many things wrong. You're going to fire somebody because of what they did, it didn't have to do with her job performance. And it was because of Twitter and WhatsApp and all of that. It was because of a screaming mob. And that's somebody's living should not be determined by that. And so, I mean, this lady was nuts. I'm just going to turn off this other light. In the video, what's crazy is that she's walking toward him, screaming like, I'm going to call the cops and tell them an African-American man is threatening me. Well, if you're so scared of this guy, why are you walking toward him and screaming at him? Yeah. And then yeah. And so she said that, and the issue was she was letting her dog off the leash, and it's an area, the guy's a bird watcher. And so it's an area where dogs are supposed to be on leashes because there's a lot of birds there. And you know how people are with their dogs. They just think like, my dog can do what the fuck, whatever he wants. And I don't give a shit because it's my dog. Did you just do that filter, Rizzo?
Isn't that weird? Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. I'm tripping out because it made me do like a download while you were talking to me. And I'm like, what is this? And so I clicked on something because I usually go to this certain gallery.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is different. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, the upgrade of Zoom has a whole lot of new stuff, like a whole lot of new emojis and stuff like that.
I'm peeping that out. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So, I mean, she just seemed like, just a real unbalanced person with poor judgment, so he said he wanted her to put her dog back on its leash. And he said, if you're going to do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, and you won't like it. And then he took out these dog treats and was like, here, puppy, to her dog. And so I'm trying to think, it's like, okay, if some guy said to me in the middle of the woods, I'm going to do something you don't like or whatever, I mean, I'd be trying, if you're in a dangerous situation, if you need to try and be cool and not only, but so then she said that like the interviewer said that he was holding his bicycle helmet in a menacing way. I mean, so this lady was a fucking mess. I mean, because it's also like, and I mean, that is what I would consider to be that sort of thinking and behavior is a real example of white supremacist thinking, that a way that, we don't even realize that why white people need to learn and examine ourselves, which she had not done whatsoever, because I'm thinking like, okay, if you're truly scared of this guy, that means that you're not looking at the fact that he is holding a bicycle helmet and binoculars because he's a bird watcher. Like, okay, you really think like, okay, you think you're going to be attacked by a guy with binoculars? So yeah. So she was just, and again, I mean, the basic thing, why are you walking towards somebody screaming at him if you're scared of him? So she was a fucking mess. And yeah, it was a real fucked up thing. But I mean, and if the gentleman wanted her to be fired, if that black man wanted all that to happen to her, I would not be I'd be like, okay, but he didn't. So it's the mob, man. It's a mob, and it's public opinion, which can just be dangerous, certainly in more ways than like you know, one person, you know, like, yeah, here's one person being fired, you know, pretty much fucked up her life, but it can be fucked up in other ways, in big ways too. So the similarities is going back to McCarthyism, which was the hunt. Joseph McCarthy was a US senator that decided to go after communists. And so one of the reasons I was looking at this a lot is that I got another event scheduled. I'm going to lead a discussion about a book called Tricky Dick and the Pink Lady, which is, no, it's just called The Pink Lady. There's one book, and it's about Helen Gahagan Douglas. Okay, the lady's a opera singer and politician. Those are like my two biggest interests. So once I found out about her, I was enthralled. She was an actor, opera singer who ran for Congress in 1944 and was elected. She served 3 terms in Congress and ran for ran for Senate in California against Richard Nixon. And he fought, it was a dirty campaign. There were lies, there were slurs. And so historically, it is considered to be kind of the beginning of real dirty campaigns. And one of, at the time, what was, people could be damned if you just said they were a communist. And it was, people would get interrogated, or people could get in trouble just for having gone to a meeting where there were communists, or having friends that were communists. And similar to some of what is happening right now. You don't need to necessarily do anything. You can offend people and really significantly change your life. I mean, you know, what the fuck kind of financial impact is this going to have on the baby? And, you know, I mean, I don't know a hell of a lot about I mean, you know, the people that manage his career, I mean, there's people working for him that still need to get paid. I mean, so yeah, I mean, this is,
yeah, I mean, from what it seems like it's drastic, whatever happened, you know.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think people are starting to get a little too ultra sensitive. I think what he did didn't deserve for him to lose all his endorsements and all that. So I don't know. That's kind of a little too much for what he said. But hey, you know,
Yeah.
on the other side of it, when you're a star, you got to watch what you do.
That's
One
very
little
true.
thing can mess you up, and you
It sure
know,
can.
me personally, if I was in that situation, I would stay away from all that. I'd stay away from any kind of, you know, sicknesses. I'd stay away from all that kind of stuff. Just not even say it, just for the risk of, you don't know who you're going to offend. Just stay away from it. So
Yeah, and I mean, you know, that's and yeah, I mean, he was also dumped, some other artists that were going to collaborate with him, like dumped him because they are allies or members of the LGBT community. And I'm like, okay, that's other artists. If they don't want to work with someone, that's their choice. But people, I hate to say it, but if you look at who's running Lollapalooza or whoever, their attitude is just going to be, okay, fine, we'll get another rapper. I mean, you know, it's, when you're running that, it's just business for them, and they want to look socially conscious. So, you know, they don't, you know, I mean, so yeah. And if So there were, like, one of the things that was happening during the McCarthy era was, and this was a big deal for my parents, for my, I mean, for my dad, the McCarthy hearings were televised in 1953. And television was still pretty new then. So it's a really significant socially, because you see the impact that TV could have on people. And it was, and people were being, my father was real concerned about it. I mean, he was in college at the time, and professors were being asked to sign loyalty oaths. And it was one of the things my father was doing, was leading students, writing letters protesting that. Professors were being asked to sign loyalty oaths and got fired if they wouldn't, or were denied tenure. We've talked about tenure here before. So this is saying, like, you didn't, so people are being, you know, fired or having their career impacted by, it's like it's like signing an oath saying, I'm not going to do any, like, if somebody came up to me and were like, you know, hey, Anna, I want you to sign an oath that you're not going to murder anyone, I'd just be like, well, fuck you, you know. I mean, that's, why should you do that? Why should you sign an oath saying that you're not going to do anything? I mean, especially since, you know, I mean, they were trying to make it, they couldn't even actually make it I don't even think they could actually even make it illegal to join the Communist Party even. But yeah, so by sticking up for by not being, because like for the professors, you're putting somebody in a position of, you know, and plenty of them weren't communists, but like, you're gonna need to make a personal decision. Like, am I going to let myself be controlled by that? And you know, that's a real difficult decision. And you know, there were people's names were brought up in the hearing, and like, there were organizations that, I mean, this was in the early 50s. Like, one of the real famous cases had to do with somebody that was nominated for a cabinet post. And so he was interrogated about articles he'd written for the past 20 years and things he'd done in the 1930s. In the 1930s, the Communist Party, and that this was used against a lot of civil rights leaders, because in the 30s, the Communist Party was making a pretense of working for civil rights. So, you know, it's saying you can't investigate ideas. It's saying you can't, Ralph Bunche, who was a real distinguished person, was hauled before the McCarthy hearings. And at the time, he was being considered for, well, he was offered positions in the United States government a lot. He was offered the position of Secretary of State, and he needed to go before that hearing. The night, it was the day he'd just been invited to dinner at the White House by the Eisenhowers. So, like, yeah, okay, this is really somebody that's a communist that the president is hanging out with. But a lot of people lost their jobs, and it really had you can look at films that were made during the 50s. It's one reason there's so much bubblegum film. I mean, there's great film from the 50s too, but a lot of people were threatened, or they were told that, like, if you wrote things, if you could be nailed for like what you wrote being suspicious. And so, and then whenever there's stuff like this happening, I mean, there's always, it's never just one thing. And so there's always layers. And I don't even think it's possible to know how many of those people that were freaked out about communism were even freaked out about communism. That's real hard. That's real hard to tell. Are they using it for a pretense? Are they using it to get power? Are they using it to dump somebody out? And that sure as hell would have been the case in universities. Like, oh, I don't like somebody, I'm going to say they're a communist. But, and that was something that really affected Helen Gahagan Douglas. Like, there were laws being proposed in Congress that required people, that would have required people to sign loyalty oaths. And I mean, that's not constitutional, or that's, and but if you voted against it, you would be accused of being a communist. And so a lot of people, a lot of her fellow Congress members voted for it because they knew that President Truman was going to veto it. And they were just saying to her, like, Helen, just go, Helen, it's not going to pass. So just vote for it because it's not going to happen. And she voted her conscience. So that meant that Richard Nixon could accuse her of being a communist, that like you could be bashed for believing that things weren't right, or you could be like, okay, if you don't think that people should need to sign a loyalty oath, it's because you're a communist. This can't be, it can't just be because this is something moral. So there's just real similarities to now. And I was talking about it with my dad earlier because, I mean, he really, the McCarthyism had a big impact on him. And then, I mean, he was a university doctor, so he kind of saw what happened in the past several years. And that with Nicole Hannah-Jones being, you know, she was offered a tenure track position at University of North Carolina, and then that offer was rescinded because a big donor that didn't like her work. And so here was a major job offer being withdrawn because somebody didn't like what she had to say, because somebody disagreed with her. And I mean, and that has always been that sort of thing has always been a concern at universities for people, you know, for tenure and all that. But apparently, I mean, it's even, I mean, now you can go back. I mean, it's similar, like, you know, you'll see somebody be fired for things they tweeted 12 years before. And, you know, it's just wrong. You should be able to learn from mistakes. And so related to that is bye Governor Cuomo. You've been following that?
Yes, he finally resigned. He gave up. You know what though? I at least give on I have to say it like this. How can I explain this? Because this was written down. It's like I at least give it this much. At least he just kind of got out He didn't cause a ruckus.
He
You know,
caused a ruckus. He caused a huge ruckus.
well, I mean, some people are gonna fight a little bit, but at least he just eventually, you know what I'm saying. He thought about it and left. He eventually left.
He
There's a
caused
lot of
a
guys
huge
that don't
ruckus.
leave that are still even till this day are sitting up here
Well, he had
fighting
to.
situations that
You
they
know.
do, and I think it's funny. And like they were saying, it's like at least he gave up. I mean, look at guys like Trump and some of these other crooked guys that keep playing this game.
Well, Trump's not a good. I mean, I just don't feel like we should compare anybody to Trump. I mean, he's great. You know, I mean, he put up. I mean, that report was released. The reports have been coming out since March. He's been putting up a fight since then.
I know, but there's some people that are still fighting it. They're fighting all the stuff that did and still playing that game. And at least he was good enough to just knew he needed to leave.
Because he had nowhere left to turn. That the president wanted him to resign. There were articles of impeachment being drawn up. No, that's being forced out, Rizal.
I know, but I don't know, man. Hey, there's some guys that even fought impeachment and still kept it going. I think if he really wanted to, he could have kept it going, but I think he knew better and just decided to get out now.
Well, his chief of staff left. You know, his chief of staff was a young. You know, he had nobody on his side. He had to get it. What I think is fucked up is he kept denying it and then putting it off on saying, you know, oh, well, this is just my culture. And it's like, no, I mean, you know, kissing somebody on the cheek you can like kiss somebody on the cheek and give them a hug without like, you know, grabbing them and stuff like that. So like, no. And I have no patience for that attitude because the world has changed. And, you know, he's not that old. He's only in his 60s. So the problem is, I mean, if you're politicians, you can get a lot of people that get a lot of power think rules don't apply to them. And yeah, so, you know, no, I mean, I think if he should have, you know, he put together, he gave one of his speeches was like, he had this whole group of women behind him. It was creepy. It was like, and then he issued this, then he had this whole series of photos showing him like kissing people, like, oh, see, look, I do this all the time. So like, okay, so that means you're a creepo. So, you know, but people were mad at him for other stuff too.
Right.
And apparently, you know, I mean, he blew if he had, but I just think it's so, I just have no patience for people saying that's just my culture. And, you know, that's just being Italian. Well, no, you know, you can always put something off on, you know, I mean, your background or whatever. That isn't an excuse. We can't just all act the way our families act. I mean, you know, I'd be in trouble. Yeah. So bye, Andy. See you later. I just think he was such a prick about the whole thing, and that, you know, he'd like, and then of course he has, I didn't, you know, I have my precious daughters. I didn't do anything that I wouldn't want my daughters to know about. Like, yeah, right. And then, you know, he was even like groping like the state trooper. I'm like, man, you're like, you know, like, I guess they're trained not to, because I was like, shit, man, somebody did that to me and I had a gun. But
I remember at the beginning when they used to say that about Biden too.
Not as many.
I know not as many, but I didn't see some.
I know.
Discuss that.
I know, and he took but not like that, and nobody said. There's one person. There's only one person that worked for him that did that, because the women in Cuomo, what women were saying in Cuomo's office was that they were afraid for their careers. They were afraid of retaliation. They were afraid they wouldn't be promoted. No one's saying that. Nobody said that about Biden. So that is a big difference. And yeah. And Biden said, he said he'd like learning how to act differently and stuff. But no, I mean, nothing like the sort of stuff people were saying with Cuomo. And once you start bringing in somebody's livelihood being threatened, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, that's just real serious and a whole extra level. And I mean, what was happening with McCarthyism, like, okay, well, sign this and you'll get it, sign this or your job will suffer or will. I mean, Eisenhower signed an order. They used it as an excuse, like hundreds of gay people were fired at that time because of McCarthy, who was a closet case. They would claim that somebody being gay was vulnerable to blackmail. That was the excuse that they use. So, I mean, that's firing somebody for something that might happen. Like, no, you can't punish people because something might happen. It's just,
yeah, that's crazy to even say something like that.
Yeah. That's been that has kept a lot of people out of jobs, that excuse. So, yeah, and I think in a way, the best lies have a little truth in them, because what they're saying, we're gonna fire you because you're vulnerable. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, they're vulnerable. They're being fired for it. So basically, it's like they're doing what they're saying might happen. So, yeah, and it's so it was a real scary time. At that era, there were also bomb drills, like nuclear bomb drills. People that were, do you remember? Do you know about that?
No, what about the bomb drills?
Oh, okay. So, well, now they have active shooter drills, but kids would have nuclear bomb drills where they would need to like get under their desks in school. Like, that's gonna
Where was this at?
The United States.
Oh, you talking about a long time ago?
Yeah, the 1950s.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I thought you said they're still doing them now.
No, now they have active shooter drills. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how is being under your desk gonna protect you?
Hey, why are all the drills the same thing? That was the same thing for the earthquake drills. You had to go under your desk.
Really? We had fire drills when I was a kid. There were no earthquake drills in Washington.
Yeah, I've been in elementary. We had earthquake drill. We had the fire drills too, where you had to all go outside. But we had the earthquake drills, and it's the exact same thing. I don't know why. It's always under your desk, or if you're in a hallway, you're supposed to get under the door entrance.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always the same. It's always under a desk. It's just funny.
I guess well, being under a desk, I guess it could protect you from things falling, but a nuclear bomb, I mean, that's not gonna help.
Nuclear bomb or a live shooter. I don't know, man. You're kind of just stuck.
Scary. Well, I think one of the big things now is, well, I mean, I think school, they're taught, I guess, they're taught to, schools have, a lot of classrooms now have rooms. I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, it was classrooms were just like a room, but now you read about kids hiding, school doors lock, they learn to lock the door, I guess, and hide in a side room or something, but I don't know, man. But yeah, so communist hysteria was getting kids under their desks during school. And yeah, so that's one of the things that I was doing. I am going to see if he's not. I'm texting Chino that we're about to play his music. So, but I guess the mentality was, I mean, people had gone through World War II, and I'm just being real clear because I'm talking about the United States because that's because that's what I happen to be talking about right now, because it was so different all over the world. And because there'd been the atom bomb. I am not sure how much information American citizens even had about the impact of Hiroshima, of the atomic bomb, because I don't know, there was I don't know how much photos there were of it. I mean, that's something I would want to look up some more, because I mean, most people did not know about the concentration camps. They did not realize how bad that was. And at that time, governments were able to keep people knew they couldn't reach their relatives, but they didn't know why. And so, yeah, but then apparently Russia got the Soviet Union, as it was then, got a nuclear bomb. And so that was used to scare people more so in the 1950s. I don't know, it's an interesting, then there was a real militaristic mentality. And at the time there was talk about having a nationwide draft anyway, in the 50s, just for readiness. But Truman had desegregated the military, so people didn't want it because they wouldn't be able to maintain Jim Crow in the army anymore.
Crazy.
Yep, absolutely. So, okay, we're about to play some music by Chino Gonzalez. And man, Facebook, anybody listening on Facebook, pop over to RuzJoy76 on YouTube, because unfortunately we can't play this on Facebook.
But it's on your page. It's on YouTube.
On my page.
I put her. Yeah, so they can see it on your page if they want.
Yeah. Yeah, I've known Chino since he was a teenager, and he's going to be on the show next week, and I'm real excited about that. But so YouTube, enjoy some music.
Before you go,
Yeah.
what kind of music does he play? Because I kind of liked him, and it was kind of trippy. It was kind of like a Caribbean hip hoppy beat. It was kind of pretty cool. It was different.
I think he plays Caribbean hip hoppy beat. There's a lot of different kinds of music. Yeah.
It was sounding cool. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. But all right, we'll get into it. Chino
like it?
Gonzalez, let's go.
All right, Chino, we'll be back soon.
Good. Share that. Make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's that Afro Soul. Chino Gonzalez. I was loving it, man. Anna's Historical Podcast Radio. This your boy DJ Rowe. We coming back into it. Let's go. Anna.
Yes. Yeah. Here we go. Wow. Thank you so much for listening, Reverend Boom. And thank you, Trika. I think Trika's going back and forth between both of our shows, which is awesome.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Shout out to Trika, Know Better, Do Better.
Yes, Trika, Know Better.
She has a show. She has a show tomorrow, Thursday.
Tomorrow night?
11,
oh, okay.
So, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, everybody. So listen tomorrow to know better, do better. I had this. I tried to get the musty smell out of some clothing, which which never fucking works. And I was like, damn, no, this was an example of what we were talking about before. I know better, and I did it anyway.
good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a costume that I was wearing of, I'm on a podcast called Twitch Talk about the TV show Bewitched, where we go through and each episode we go over an episode of Bewitched, and my friend Mark had an Endora costume, so I wore that for the last one we taped, and I was so pleased to have it. And I was like, fuck, it's musty. And I was like, okay, should I used to buy and sell vintage clothing, and I had some oh wow, I like this is cool.
Well, I had to bring this into my backyard real quick.
Yes, yeah, I like this. Okay, so I've tried to get, I had some really nice vintage pieces that I tried, so that I spent months trying to get the musty smell out of. I tried everything. I think I spent more money on like, I think I upped my water bill more than however much I made when I could finally sell the clothes. So yeah.
Free breeze.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe. I don't know, man. I tried a lot of stuff. But anyway, I did the best Endora makeup that I could. I needed a wig, but I did like a headdress sort of thing. So it was a lot of fun. Some of the people on this podcast go all out and with their clothes for the pot for and stuff. And I always have a good background, but yeah. So people liked it. I was very pleased. And that will be happening this fall. Season 2 of Twitch Talk. Yay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And next week is Thurgood Thursday. The week after that is Summoned. But wait, okay, COVID shit. Okay, so the Sturgis, I was just watching the Sturgis coverage of the Sturgis motorcycle rally, which it brings in, and they had it this year, they had it last year. It was a big controversy for anti-vax people, and Dr. Fauci was trying to get people not to do it. But the big thing they were saying in conservative groups was, well, Obama had a big birthday party. How come nobody's talking about that? Well, maybe because he's a private citizen. Maybe because it was a private party. Not so. What the fuck can you do? So yeah,
there's still, I don't understand what, leave the dude alone. Jesus Christ.
Oh, but did you see what happened? The pictures?
No, I don't know. I know I saw pictures that look like people had helicopters or what do you call those little things that you fly over? They were like
drones.
Because you could see that he had a tent over his party or whatever he was doing.
Well, more than that, you could see more than that, because there were a couple. You probably know their names. There were some real well-known DJs that were there, and those guys because it's a big deal. Like, nobody's supposed to take pictures and stuff. But those guys got there and were like posting videos the whole time and put pictures of themselves smoking massive blunts at Obama's party. Yeah. I was like, wow. I mean, that is something to tell your grandchildren.
Let me ask you this: when they were smoking, they didn't have any pictures of him with them, did he? Did they?
No.
Okay, so
no. I mean, they were. So I mean, it's a big deal. Then Erykah Badu posted a photo from the party, and those were the only ones. I mean, people want to be invited back. So yeah, I mean, that is a big deal. But I guess they don't care about getting that gig again, because I was like, fuck, you're posting like smoking on the president's property. See, I read the British papers, and I guess they have, I mean, because they were posting this stuff and then it was getting taken down. But I think the British papers, they have people like standing by or something, because they get a hold of that stuff and reprint it before it gets taken down. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I was just kind of, I don't know. I mean, that kind of surprised, because I was, it's like, wow, don't you want to get, you'd think they would want to get hired to do another gig there. But I guess the temptation of having those, of having those pictures was just too much. But I know, like, what the hell, aren't you, I guess they don't care about the Secret Service or whatever. I mean, I'm sure other people were smoking too. So, I mean, why not? Yeah, that's guts, man. I don't know if I would be. Well, I don't know, man. Hey, if I was there, I would probably be like, sure. But yeah, but that was pretty funny. Okay, and then I was looking at an article saying, looking at good things Trump did, and it said he did not start any new wars. A low but significant bar that George W. Bush, invader of Iraq, and Barack Obama, bomber of Libya, failed to clear. So, okay, yay, Trump didn't start wars. Pretty fucking crazy. I guess we're, I suppose now that I think about it, it's almost a surprise, man. He's so fucking crazy. So okay. So that is it. Okay. So speaking of wars, the Taliban has now retaken, I mean, I think at least half of Afghanistan, and they're abducting girls and young women to be like sex slaves. So I'm just bad. Like, basically why the fuck was the United States there for 18 years and it accomplished nothing, so far as I'm concerned.
I think when we go into other countries, though, I mean, this is even back with Vietnam. Some of these countries are just too big, and I just don't think we know enough about them.
Yeah.
And then when we go in there and do that, it's, I don't know how you can handle those situations, because we don't know these countries, and you go in there, you think you're going to stop it, and pretty much the Taliban was probably just sitting back and just getting their forces together, waiting on us to leave, and then there we go, man, they're going to take it right over.
Yeah. I mean, getting their forces together and developing their ideology. I think part of it is you're not just trying to fight a war, you're also trying to combat it's a movement, it's an ideology, it's a belief system. They've been able to raise a whole generation under their belief system, and have people come of age, and but yeah, it is a lot like Vietnam. The United States did not know what the fuck they were doing. Yeah, so I don't even know. And I think that, I don't know, it's just an interesting part of the, I mean, I don't know. Afghanistan is like, it's a little Arab, it's a little Asian, it's kind of a it's a little African. It's just, I mean, I think, well, nationalistically, I think there's not countries that necessarily have other countries that have much reason to be there to support them. So, okay, and then in the Olympics, there was a young woman who defected from Belarus. There's always some drama with the Olympics. So that was interesting. I mean, Belarus has just also a real brutal place. They, she criticized her coach and then was supposed to go home. And she thought she would be imprisoned. So she claimed asylum from the Japanese government and is now in Australia. And yeah, and then there was a Belarusian, I don't have down who he was, but yeah, a member of the Belarusian opposition has been killed. They've had a journalist in prison for a couple months, and that was the person who was basically hijacked on a plane that the Belarusian government forced the plane to land and took him off of it. So yeah, they've been ruled by a dictator. Okay, and so I was reading about Albania, and Albania has had a custom. I was looking at it. Oh shit! I should pull up my map after we do this. I mean, that's another real interesting place geographically. But there is. I've read about them before. There's a tradition called Bernashat, or female men, where women can decide that they're men and they need to swear that they're virgins. I mean, they basically take an oath of virginity. Basically, they're like, they can't. You're saying you're not going to have a relationship with anyone, but they do it because if they don't want to be married off, and if they want to, like, parents whose sons had all been killed often urged a daughter to take on a male identity, so there would be a man to represent the family at village meetings and to manage its property. They could decide to be men, and then they wouldn't have to be married off, and then they would be able to work and have a role in society. So and Albania was very violent. There was a lot of clan fighting. So families could practically get wiped out. So they would want their daughters to take over and run things. But they are emphatic that they are not transgender and not gay. And they are Albania is very transphobic and homophobic, and these women are go right along with that. They're saying, like, they don't want to have surgery or hormones or anything like that. They think that that's a sin to change what God made, and taking the oath of virginity would basically mean that, like, okay, I'm going to be a man, but I am just not going to have sex with anybody so I won't be gay. They're their own category. But there's now fewer of them because the society is still very traditional and patriarchal, but not as much. So there's more women that are able to have lives, because it's an example of oppressed people choosing to join like they're basically choosing to join the oppressors instead of fighting the oppression. Like, okay, I'm not going to try and like get more rights. I am just going to change so that I can have the rights that other people have. So, I mean, who knows? I certainly would. I mean, I don't know. I can really see doing that if I was in a society like that, because you'd be able to have a life. You'd be able to have freedom. So, I mean, between being like married off and locked as a teenager and locked up forever and not being able to have any voice or any choices or do anything, I would rather I'd rather be a dude and just, I'd definitely give up a sex life, not to just to be able to have a life. You gotta be able to make choices.
Very true. Very true.
Yep. So in Egypt, there was my brother's been to Egypt. So it's amazing. So there's a new museum being built there, and we talked about this before. There was a parade of mummies being brought to the new museum, and now there's a boat that was transported. They transported an entire boat to the new museum, which is due to open this year. So that's going to be really cool, like having it all in one space. So yeah, and then archaeologists found new sections of Jerusalem's ancient city. That's amazing. Like, it just makes me think, like, there's got to be so much, like, okay, why does archaeological stuff always get found in that part of the world? That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, was there not people in other places?
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Yeah. The Iraqi prime minister's plane touched down in Baghdad last week after an official visit to the United States. Its cargo included 17,000 archaeological artifacts returned by a prominent museum and an Ivy League university in the largest ever repatriation of looted Iraqi antiquities. And that would have, I mean, a lot of that happened with because when you talk about looted, I mean, a lot of, like, you can say that about a lot of artifacts that are in museums, which means that that means you just go over to the country and dig around and take them. But during and after the wars, it's even easier because the museums are looted. So basically you have people that will just go in and take a bunch of stuff from the museums and sell them. And so that is where a lot of these artifacts come from. There's a museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. that I think would be extremely interesting, but it was, a lot of artifacts are being returned from there because it was basically started by people who had money and knew a lot about the Bible, but you got to know a lot more than that to open a museum that did not understand the laws, the ethics, and all of that. Didn't understand. It didn't bother to understand. So that's the thing. So, but I mean, hopefully, like, one of the things in Iraq that I think I talked about on the show before that's being done is new is just training more archaeologists because a lot of stuff was destroyed, but there's more out there. Why isn't there more stuff here in the US? Are we just in the Northwest? It's because of the climate. Well, I believe that stuff is preserved more in deserts, like in the Northwest, everything was wood, and so that doesn't last in the same way. So I think that's part of it. I think deserts preserve things, but
there is a lot of truth to that. What you just said. I had a weird conversation with a friend about that one day over food, and it made sense because they were explaining to me how, how certain foods spoil quicker than others.
Mm-hmm.
But he was explaining to me that if you eat food like Indian food or, food from like, I would say desert type countries, that their food lasts a long time.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And, with all the spices and stuff they put in them, like you can almost have some chicken curry in your refrigerator for almost a week or two until it'll take a long time for it. I mean, of course you probably don't want to do it, but it'll hold longer than you having. Let's just say you having some clam chowder. Clam chowder is going to probably spoil in a few days.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I guess in a lot of those cuisines, I think don't have milk in them.
They have what?
Don't have a lot of those. I think a lot of cuisines from there they don't have a lot of like dairy.
Right. So, and then when they put the spices that they put in there, like curry powder and what is the other one? There's just certain spices. I keep forgetting the name of all the spices, but there's certain spices they put in there that, like you said, if they live on a desert, it lasts, you know what I'm saying? They last a very long time.
Yeah.
And so it kind of happens the same thing with the food. So they can make some like pita bread or some curry, and it'll last a long time for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. This is so annoying. Okay. I'm sorry, Facebook. I'm doing the best I can with this. Okay. Oh, well, speaking of this, I just got, this is like a social side. I just got a mini freezer so that I can, because when especially because like when I volunteer at some of the food programs, I get a lot of food and I like to be, and so I'll get like so much, like last year I got a bunch of raspberries and froze a bunch of them. I got so many fucking raspberries, my freezer was full. And then, I mean, they lasted me for a really long time. And then I got a bunch of raspberries at a different food place and filled it up then. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a freezer just so I can,
How much did it cost you for a freezer? I was thinking about getting me a little small freezer.
The freezer was $89 and then the shipping was about 20.
How big is the freezer, you think?
About 2 feet high.
You said what exactly?
Like about 2 feet high.
2 feet high. And then how long?
It's pretty much a cube.
Okay, so it's about 2 feet high.
Yeah.
2 feet wide. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, not super big, but I mean, I have the freezer and I have a freezer and then I have that. But yeah, like last week I didn't realize how much. I just took some boxes from the food place I was helping out at last week. And then I was like, oh shit, I thought this was like 2 things. There was a lot more. So I actually I left some for my neighbors, but I especially, now I'm set. I got shit. You want I got a bunch of ravioli and stuff and juices, strawberry lemonade. I especially like stuff like that for potlucks. So So
You're gonna have to send me the info for it because I think I might give me one too.
okay. Yeah, it's nice. I don't know. I mean, I like it's such a reassuring feeling. I guess. I like knowing I have stuff for just in case. So okay, Sephardic Jews. Okay, a couple years ago, Spain issued a decree that Jews that were expelled from there in the 15th century could come back. The descendants of Jews that had been expelled from there, because there's a lot of different nationalities amongst Jews and different cultures, and Sephardic Jews are from Spain and Turkey and the Isle of Rhodes. That is like my family is Ashkenazic Jews, and that's Eastern Europe. Like basically, as far as I'm concerned, just bland, totally bland, boring. There's no seasoning for the food, man. It's like potatoes, shit. So, okay, they were. So a lot of people were real interested in it, and you couldn't just. You had to. I knew people that were interested in doing it, but they were being selective. They didn't want older people coming over. I mean, they wanted people that were, they wanted people that could make money, basically. So a friend of my dad's, well, she's older. She's like, she was friends with my parents. She was going to do it, but she spoke Spanish. She was real identified with the culture, the Sephardic Jewish culture. So, for some reason, though, the fund is shut down. Spain's statistics and interviews with frustrated applicants reveal a wave of more than 3,000 rejections in recent months, raising questions about how serious the country is about its promise of reparations. The word is repatriations, to correct one of the darkest chapters of its history, the Inquisition. Before this year, so like some 34,000 people have been accepted, but I think they've decided that it's enough, because the reason a lot of people wanted to do it was so that they could get an EU passport. They didn't necessarily even want to go live in Spain. I mean, because if you become a citizen of a European country, then you're a citizen of the European Union and you can really do what you want. So maybe they caught on to that, but I was reading an interview with a lady she had been born in Mexico and realized like well into adulthood that she's a Sephardic Jew, possibly, and then was going back. You have to go back over documents like for hundreds of years and shit to like prove to them that you're a descendant. And I thought I was interested in it particularly since we've talked a lot here about how reparations could happen, because like, okay, here's people because like basically, okay, you're trying, if I was trying to, I just kind of think that I think it's ridiculous. Okay, you were like kicked out of this country 500 years ago, and you went someplace else. So it's not like it's not like the effects are still being felt, which is not the case in the United States with enslavement. So yeah, so I think they're kind of realizing now, like, okay, it was just ridiculous because people were like, some of the people are like, oh, I just realized, like, okay, you're devastated because you don't get to go live in you don't get a free pass to go get an EU passport. Well, so what? Too bad. Get in line like everyone else. Because again, you have, I mean, since I follow, I mean, Spain is trying to keep out migrants. Oh God, there's that disputed territory that we talked about before. I have to look at my fucking notes for that again, because that's disputed between Morocco and Spain. I mean, there's people that are desperate to get there now. There's people that are trying to escape desperate situations, that are trying to get someplace. And they should have priority, not just because you think it's cool to go get an EU passport. So, yeah. I mean, I guess apparently me and my brother could get one because our grandfather was born in Ireland. So we could get one. But I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You know, I mean, I'm not going to like go back and like, to me, that's just kind of taking advantage. I mean, like, okay, my family left that country of their own free will. And if I'm gonna, if I want to go someplace, I should just, go through a normal process. So, yeah. Kind of ridiculous. And like, no, I mean, the Sephardic Jews did not leave of their own free will, but it was 500 years ago, and they're doing fine. Kind of ridiculous. Okay, because then, like, meanwhile, because then you still have you can get I mean, there's people, I mean, but you can get, then you have the whole, I mean, Palestinians that were kicked out in the 20th century can't go back and reclaim their property. Now that is a problem, but man, there has to be a point. You got to draw the line somewhere. Like, not like 500 years. So, okay. Okay, so an international court has ruled that Isabel dos Santos, the daughter of Angola's former president, who was once known as Africa's richest woman, must surrender oil and gas shares worth $500 million. The Netherlands Arbitration Institute said that the transaction in which she received the shares in Portuguese oil and gas was illegal, and it's ordered that she must return them to the Angolan Energy Group. I was looking at it for a minute because I couldn't remember like why I had this down, but it's because it is a situation of something being returned to the country that it was taken from. So, which does happen sometimes, which we support. So, you want to play a little bit more of Chino's music?
He sent me one song, but I can play it again if you like.
Oh no, let's play something else. He only sent you one song. I thought he sent you more than that.
No, he only sent me one. That's the only thing I can see. I tried downloading, but it was only that one song.
Oh, okay. Because I think because that was why he sent you a drive link. I thought because it was more stuff. So okay, cool. Well, he's coming on next week. Link. So cool. Okay, we'll be back shortly. Facebook.
Yeah, come on. His swag is up, money he has enough. Yummy, how could I pass him up? We in the club, we drunk, we passing cups. He whispered he wants me, he want me to gas him up. But I ain't no passenger, I'm a rider. You gon' see everyone inside her, like a 300 Chrysler. Fly pair of jeans, fresh kicks, nice shirt with that ice word. He never looking at price words. He ain't cheap with a wallet and deep with knowledge. I'm a self-made diva, believe I keep it solid. And they don't really know that I'm a secret closet freakaholic. Now them like those rounds of drinks work. Let's go to the left with no blinkers. I'm wet. He's the backyard sprinklers. We on the way over this R&B singer. Yes, MCL special on the D12 candy paint tip because I'm fresh like a diesel. Come and pick you up with the top drop bill. Pop a bottle of my wet right there. Cause you're a mistake. You can tell anywhere you wanna go. Money ain't a thing. I've been on to spend a lot. I'm for every cool thing, rock with your cool thing. Come on, baby, choose me. I put on lingerie, you put on Marvin Gaye. I know I got you starving way. You remind me of Brett Favre the way you keep coming back. Matter of fact, you running back to get under that. Old school wanna play a game of hide and go get it. Same rules when you finally go hit it. You good with women? Come on, keep the party hot. Squeeze the lemon, doing tequila body shots. Blame it on the drone, I need a sip slower. He licking off my neck, hips, shoulders, my chest, lips, got my body flipped over. Both of us tipsy, the bottle tipped over. I'm losing on purpose, we playing strip poker. Cause you the one I wanna rip close for. Slip on the thing and I'ma slide it like a stripper pole. So we both cripple. Or somebody gas in the CL smash on the D12 candy paint tip because I'm fresh like a diesel. Come and pick you up with the top drop kill. Pop a bottle of my wet right there. Cause you're gon' make it clap. I'ma show a stat. She gon' throw it back. I'ma blow a rat. Lemon pepper wings. We bout to smoke a pad. Drinking the Coke and Jack on my open tab. I like to see my independent women winning. Get it, flip and spend it. Stay about your business and your benefits. She way up there, getting dizzy spinning. She ready to make that ass drop any minute. Niggas be Superman, Captain Kirk, and the waitress is serving. The strippers is twerking for Birkins, but gaming is working. Literally, niggas be bitter for weeds. Cause all you got from her is some glitter on your cheek. She made a phony plan for a lonely man. So he dropped 40 bands on her OnlyFans. He had dreams of holding hands on the sand. Should've listened to your homies. Damn, she on that Polish again.
Drop it down low, yeah, mob out her chips. Get your stacks a night, little baby ain't about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot 'em, she can drop it down low. Yeah, mob out her chips, get her stacks a night, little baby about to quit. Big body, Birkin, red bottoms, big tipper. Yeah, she can spot it.
Camping outside from 5 to 5, tents on the ride, Colt 45, I'm plotting. I know where you wait, I know where you work, so I'm on the shit, I know when you clock in. Dressed in all black, stocking cap on my lap, I'm strapped. Hatch is playing cause all they give a nigga straps up a half the fact that we don't wanna be in C don't match. Got rope, got tape, so soap, might tape, the whole thing a propane, just in case my DNA on the scene, nigga blow up. A nigga about to plunge, I guess, I had a little fear digest. Now you about to feel my stress, once I press this unlock, no stop, yeah, but here's my best. Creeping through your window, my end goal is simple, hit go, get gone. I'm hoping that it ain't nobody home. When you getting later home, you gon' look around and wonder like, too late, you been raid, it's payday, and you paid. Get braid, get sprayed, that's how you get a gray wall back on your hip where your shit stay. Leave no name like, gotta get a nigga enemies. Even if it means everybody enemies, you should've changed up your tendencies. Now you ran to some identities, tie you up, think you finna leave. No, nobody, sympathy, don't got it. Your wallet, my wallet, when you pray whole body. Karma coming, don't got it, that's why.
Yeah, I hope everybody's watching Anna's Historical Podcast. This is Jax watching me. I think we're coming back on. I see Anna in the building. Let's do it. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Thanks. And we are, I haven't listened yet. I'm not sure if we're on OzCat yet, but Global History is going on OzCat. I'm so fucking excited.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But yeah, we do pretty good. I just, yeah, we're smoothing it out. I went back over, I sent her a couple ones that I thought were the best. So yeah, we're doing good. Doing good. Okay, yeah, and thank you so much to everyone that's listening. Had a good time over the weekend. I was at the One Love Festival that Ms. Askari Sawande put on out on Mare Island. There was lots of music, and it was real cool to see people. It was a lot of fun. Did you DJ any place this weekend?
No, not this weekend. Nope.
Okay, yeah. So everybody, please remember that Roselle will be DJing at Elegant Events Enterprise next week. And yeah, so we're going to get there at 5 and start setting up. It will be real interesting. And I want to send, I've gotten some sponsors, which is awesome because, I just like getting to try new places. And then the next week is Francis Perkins. And I just like that era so much. And then, so it'll be cool following along because Francis Perkins was friendly with Helen Gahagan Douglas. And then I still have my eye on getting the Polly Murray documentary here. There was somebody, I'm not going to mention his name, who was like trying to scoop me on stuff coming here. So I was kind of uptight about that. But then I realized I'm always kind of wishing that I would like somebody else to do here in Vallejo to do events like what I do so that I could just go. So, I mean, it's a win either way. But
yeah, I never understood that, man. Vallejo seems like a good place too to have events, but people don't really like to throw a lot of events here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of events. I mean, if you want to go to them, well, who knows now? I mean, yeah, but I hope I'm volunteering at the Louise Lawrence Transgender Archive. All I was doing today was making labels. The person that runs the archives was doing it on some program where he wanted to remember those sheets of labels that you put into the printer? And I was like, no, you can get a machine that makes labels. So I found that for him. And then we were figured out how to work. And I was making them today, but then he came over, he was like, no, I want these to be like the other way. So I had to evens on this side, odds on the other. So I was like, okay, whatever. You just want to help with this stuff. But yeah, we're trying to get some more publicity for that. And okay, so this was sort of interesting. I have a friend that works on tribal law. This was weird. This was the prosecution. People are being released for real serious crimes because if people that were because they need to be tried in federal or tribal courts rather than state or local officials. So prisoners are released who committed murder and child abuse. Yeah, and so they're released before being retried, and that's just so horrible for victims. And I don't know, because it's not that they're saying it's not like the innocence. I mean, it's not like they're saying it wasn't a fair trial. They're just saying somebody else, a different jurisdiction should have done the trial. So yeah, so that was just really sad, and pretty sad to read about. And yeah. So yeah, then Vallejo is relatively, I mean, Vallejo's been noisy so far as like disruptions, but so far as politics, the congratulations to the townhouse. It was the bar downtown. It was always gay friendly, but I mean, in a town this size, you got to be friendly to everyone. You'd hope anyway, but it's now a real gay bar. It's owned by a gay couple, and there's a pride flag out in front. So I went to the opening for that last week, and the mayor of Vallejo came down to cut the ribbon, which was cool. So I went up to him and was like, hey, I mean, it means a lot that you're here, because there's a lot of times and a lot of places where you would not see the mayor come open a gay bar. So yeah, so there's some progress. What?
Oh, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring this. So whatever happened to that one guy that ran for mayor?
Hakeem?
Yes. What's he up to? Or do you even still talk to him? Or?
Oh, sure. Well, he's still on. Anybody listening? Any Hakeem enemies or friends listening? He's still on city council and is laying low. I mean, not on social media much, which is good. I mean, doing his job on city council so far as I know. He applied for a license to set up a grow operation near his dispensary. And so the people that are against him, came in front of the planning board. The people that were against him, went around calling in to the planning commission about his offenses. And that doesn't have to do with it. And I don't know. I mean, I was like, somebody else was posting today about the Cuomo. Somebody posted a picture of Cuomo with one of his accusers, doing a selfie, and people were well, it's kind of the mayor. People were posting. This happened last spring. The mayor's wife sent this letter to the editor, and it was one of those stupid ass things Italians are like that, blah blah, about Cuomo. So I'm like, what kind of woman? It's why are you gonna go out of your way to denigrate other women, saying that they are harassed? Why are you going to do that? Can't you do something else? And then other people are going I'm Italian, that doesn't mean you get to grab somebody's ass. And so yeah, so I just said, these women, they don't have they have no reason to lie, and he does. I mean, that's the thing with this. It's like you come out and you tell people this, you get harassed and publicity, and it sucks. I mean, I would do it if I really felt that it was necessary for the cause of justice, but I don't want to go tell the public about bad things that happened to me. So yeah, I was expecting people to come at me, but I mean, my issue with Hakeem's case was not whether something happened or not. That, I mean, I believe what the women had to say. Of course I do. I mean, and people have a right to, I mean, there were other things I didn't like about how he was being treated. I mean, people have rights, and that's kind of the point of, that's the point of looking at the law and of having laws. It's not just things are complicated, which is something we'll be talking about with Thurgood Marshall. I was listening to an interview with Juan Williams, who wrote a book about him, and it was about Williams interviewed Thurgood Marshall toward the end of his life, and he lived in Washington, D.C., where there was a lot of crime. And Juan Williams said that he said to Thurgood Marshall, well, you go to work in your limo every day. What do you see? And I'm like, I was like, what the fuck? You said that to Thurgood Marshall? That man risked his life for 20 years. He traveled all over representing people. He faced death daily. So that is a hell of a thing to say, which Williams wrote a biography of him. I mean, he knew that. I mean, I think he was just, and it had to do with Marshall being anti-death penalty. And Marshall said, well, they should build more jails, but he still did not believe in the death penalty. So, I mean, that's interesting. And he talked a lot about how Thurgood Marshall had no use for Malcolm X, that when Malcolm X's name came out, Marshall would just say, what did he do for anyone? And people have their own ways of going about things. He did not understand why Malcolm X was a hero to people. He felt that you needed the way to change things was by changing laws. And so that's there's just different. So it's sort of interesting to like, whoa, Thurgood Marshall was saying build more prisons. But yeah, a lady in my Bible club was like going on about the death penalty, and I was like, what? I was like, okay, I think the death penalty is wrong no matter what someone did, and B, our system is racist. I mean, how can you possibly, and our penal system and incarceration system is racist. So regardless, it's almost like it's not even the point. So our system is not, we don't have justice, so people shouldn't be put to death. And even if we had a system, I don't think people should be put to death by the state. I mean, so yeah, that would be interesting. And then we were because again, like fucking Cuomo and shit. My dad was talking about how surgeons and stuff, and I was just like, my dad doesn't talk like he did 40, 50 years ago. I mean, he wouldn't have been talking to me like that anyway, but I mean, you need to adapt. The world changes. And so I was reading that Marshall, like, he just got pretty he had a rough time toward the end of his life. I mean, he felt that some of the things he'd fought for were being eroded. And I mean, being on the Supreme Court is not that, it's long and tedious, and going from being a trial lawyer to being a judge, it's a real different thing. My brother has gone after being appointed to judgeships before, and I'm just like, I can't see it. He's a trial lawyer. He likes action. So Marshall was always a heavy drinker, but became like even more so when and apparently he would just be on the street, like grabbing women, and that his wife moved their family to the suburbs. So there would be less gossip, or sort of like keep him out of people's way or something. So yeah, I mean, he couldn't get away with that shit now, but and he shouldn't have been able to. But man, that would have sucked to be a woman in a workplace back then. There was nothing you could do. No recourse. All that shit was totally acceptable. So yeah, real interesting person. So you ready to start wrapping up?
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. So this has been Global History Radio with Anna and DJ Rowe. DJ Rowe. You got anything going on this weekend?
What is this weekend? Nah, nothing on the podcast side of the world. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna be waiting up on you. You're gonna be the next big thing. Is on what, Thursday the 19th?
Yeah. But tomorrow night's Know Better, Do Better with Trika.
Oh, that's normal. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yours is the big one. We gotta do the big setup for that one. So.
We sure will.
Yeah. that's the one.
Yeah.
I'm chilling for. So.
Yeah. That'll be fun. So okay. Thanks everybody for listening.
All right, y'all, and have a good night.
Have a good night.